before 1900, any idea how many people had a heart attack before 1900 in the United States?
I mean,
Now it's the #1 cause of death. 1 in 3 people are dying from this. One
heart
out of
attack.
3.
Well,
Yes.
and now it's gotten worse because now
Heart disease. Heart
oh
disease. More
yeah, well, okay, heart disease. I was gonna say even kids are dying from heart attacks now, but that's for another issue. But yeah, heart disease. I don't even know. I couldn't imagine. Maybe like 5%, 10%. I don't know, something small.
Okay. Well, would you believe it might be single-digit numbers, not percentages? Like 5 people in the entire country died of a heart attack. 5. That's it. It was an unknown, extremely rare disease. It didn't happen. It never happened. Now, cancer wasn't as extraordinarily different. We almost have the same amount of people dying from cancer as we do as heart disease. It's a little bit lower, but back then it was under 1%, maybe 0.5%. So maybe 1 out of 300 people were getting that. So that's pretty low. Definitely less than 1%. Now it's 1 out of 3 people are dying from cancer. 1 out of 3. So what I'm going to tell you will address both of those. We'll also address diabetes, obesity. The reason why people are getting heavy and they can't lose the weight, it's not because they're eating too many carbs and sugar. That is not the reason. That is not the culprit at all. Now, high fructose corn syrup is not something, it's loaded in processed foods. That's not something you should have. You should avoid it like the plague. But it's not because of the sugar. What I just learned recently, this is out of Ray Peat's work, who's a biologist who just passed away a few weeks ago, is that when you make high fructose corn syrup, there's byproducts that are not filtered out of the end product. There's starch, they're in there, and these starch byproducts that's left over that's not identified on the label is what causes the problem. So regular pure sugar, especially like in fruits, is okay. So anyway, it's a little slight tangent, but so what is this culprit that's causing all this?
By the way, we knew about high fructose corn syrup being bad back in the early 2000s. I mean, it was like, there was big debates about this, and it's just amazing how they're feeding it to the kids now consistently. They never stopped feeding it to the kids, and it's just, yeah, it's a crime.
There was a danger, and I kind of fell into that trap of believing that if high fructose corn syrup is bad, then all fructose is bad. And that's not true. There's a differentiation. It's a processed food versus a real food.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the culprit that, and this occurred in the late 1800s, about 1865 or so, with the technology developed to process seeds. And we got seed oils. This is actually about the same time they actually started refining oil too. And they were able to figure out how to take it out of the ground and refine it. But they used seed oils like cottonseed and everything, and extracted it and started selling it as food. So prior to that time, there's this omega-6 fat called linoleic acid, LA for short. It's comprised of about 80% of the omega-6 fats. And the concentration in the tissues of our ancestors, anyone who lived before 1860, was about 1 to 2%. And that's still the percentage that is in some countries in the world where they aren't eating westernized diets. 1 to 2%. That's more than acceptable. It's healthy. Your body will thrive on that, and you will not get those diseases. That's why there were essentially no heart attacks and no cancer prior to the industrialization of food processing with the seed oils. So now you're looking at 20, 30, maybe even up to 40% in some people. I mean, because have been demonized. Saturated fat is, the devil, right? And what did they replace it with? They replaced it with the PUFAs. And PUFA is an acronym for polyunsaturated fatty acids. Primarily, they were recommending omega-6, seed oils, corn oils, soy oil, safflower, canola. These are all seed oils. So it's in almost every processed foods. Now, processed foods have sugar, and many times it's high fructose corn syrup, as you mentioned. But what's even worse, far more pernicious, is the seed oils. Part of the reason is that, unlike sugar, even if you had pure sugar and you raise your blood sugar, then your body produces insulin, and it could definitely lead to insulin resistance if you do it a long time. But if you just do one little, your blood sugar will go up and it'll come down. So it doesn't stay in your system. It's a simple, quick hit. When you eat an oil, a omega-6 oil, do you know how long it stays in your tissues, primarily your cell membranes? 7 years.